What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick here, Taylor Kyles over there. A special edition of the Pats Daily Podcast here on CLNS Media. Special not only because it's me hosting it rather than Taylor Kyles, Patriots beat reporter, but special because it is the Patriots schedule release party here on CLNS Media YouTube. It is powered by Game Time. Game Time is the official ticket buying app of the CLNS Media Network. And before we get into it, I do want to talk a little bit about Game Time because, yes, it's football season, but we also have Celtics. We also have Bruins going on right now. And I kind of want to get to a game. And frankly, if, we didn't have to do this Patriots thing right now, I probably would have been on Game Time trying to get to the Celtics game tonight. It's super easy. I think I was looking before, Taylor, Red Sox tickets for tomorrow, $14 on Game Time. Bruins tickets for Friday night, $181, and that's right now. They go down even more once you get to closer to the game time. So make sure to go download Game Time. It's super easy. It's the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. Makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. The prices, like I said, go down closer to tip-off. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You can see the view from your seat and their lowest price guaranteed. So go to Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app today. Go create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Go download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So that's Game Time. The sponsor for the special edition Patriots Daily Show. But we got to get to it now. I'm talking about PrizePicks. We're talking about Game Time. It's got a release show. The schedule's out, Taylor. We just saw it. It was launched 8 o'clock. And the Patriots, as every NFL team does across the NFL, released it with a special Boston movie edition video, Good Will Hunting, the town. So before we get into the actual schedule, and our friend Evan Lazar was in it too. So what did you think about the release of the Patriots schedule tonight?
This is the best one they've done in a while. I know, was it last year where they had all the players and everything, and it was like the Patriots house or whatever? They started stepping up their game, but I think maybe I'm just partial because Evan was in it, and I literally was just like, oh my god, I felt like I was in it. That was pretty fantastic, and the fact that he was literally in frame with Gronk and Jules was really, really cool. But yeah, I like the whole style of it. Really, the team, like I said, they stepped their game up. I'm excited to see next year. Look, such a greedy consumer. I'm already looking to next year. But yeah, I know that with this one.
And they also had so they did the Good Will Hunting with, Jules making the schedule thing. And then they do the shout out to the town where they have the robbers come in the costumes, whatever. And it was Marcus Jones. It was David Andrews. I couldn't tell who else was there, but security guard Brian was there in the SUV as well. And I just thought that was so awesome. They these have been great for the last couple years. You mentioned last season's where they did the retirement house where it was a bunch of players who had already gone, and it wasn't anybody on the team. Where this one, it was Gerard Mayo was involved.
Yeah, that was wild.
Current players were involved, and I thought that part was super cool too. So they had a lot of fun with it. And again, the NFL has turned this into a complete party. Like you said, you tweeted it that it's it should be a national holiday. So it's fun and it's interesting how each team does it. But the Patriots they kicked ass with this one. So the schedule is out. So Taylor, let's pull it up and let's walk through this a little bit because I want to get your first impressions sort of what the schedule looks like, because a late bye, as we see, it's the week 14 bye the Patriots have. They start off with the Bengals with what we presume is going to be a healthy Joe Burrow. So starting off against one of the best quarterbacks in football. You also are on the road for 3 out of your first 4 games. Then you come home to the Miami Dolphins, who have had your number the last couple of seasons. So initial reaction just to the schedule as a whole, especially the top part where, again, it's tough that they're traveling a lot to start the season.
Yeah, the travel and just the quality of opponent, that's a really brutal way to start the season against, perennial contender in the Bengals, obviously, whenever Burrow's healthy. The Seahawks are a well-balanced team with a ton of talent. Obviously, they're moving on with Mike McDonald, no longer with Pete Carroll, but all the success he's had, there may be some speed bumps, but you'd expect that he's going to have his guys ready to play. The Jets, this is going to be early in the season when if the Jets are going to be healthy, it's more likely to be then as of, what's going on right now. So they're going to be tough. Frankly, I think they're probably going to lose every game in the first month of the season. It'd be genuinely crazy, I think, if they won any of those games where you start thinking, all right, maybe there's a little something to this team. And then I think Miami's winnable. The Texans, though, are another really tough game. That's one of the best, I think, all-around teams in football. There are some winnable games in the middle that I think will help them get back on track, start clawing their way back. Right. The Rams, juggernaut, one of those teams where, usually with Bill Belichick, you don't really ever count the Patriots out of games. You're not like, oh, they're probably going to lose that one pretty badly regardless. The Rams, I think the Niners, the Texans, I'd say maybe once the Bills, like those are games where you could see them losing pretty badly.
Yeah,
just right. Opponents, like that's tough. Then again, I think they have some winnable games towards the end. There's a lot of opponents here who, like, I think of the Chargers and the Jaguars, where the Patriots have had, they've only played Trevor Lawrence once. I don't want to say they've got his number, but they've had success against where you're like, okay, they could replicate that. And then the bye week 14, the latest it could possibly be. That seems like a pretty obvious signal that, if Drake Maye is going to start at any point, you'd hope it's in the middle. So you get like Caleb Williams and Drake Maye action, something cool like that.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, it's most likely he's probably going to come in towards the later part of the season where if you're the pessimist, you're thinking at that point, the Patriots have no reason to play. You want to see what your young guys have. So I think the late bye week makes sense. It is absolutely brutal, especially considering week 7, they're going to London. I'm trying to see. They also are going to end up going to the West Coast at different parts of the year. We don't often see that, where typically the West Coast.
And the rumor was, Taylor, sorry to cut you off. The rumor was that they requested to get them on the back-to-back weekend so they could stay out there. They tried to talk to the league about that, and of course they denied it because, again, as you see, they go out again twice. Like,
so we're like, oh, this is not Bill Belichick. Oh, you're not getting any favors.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
At least they're like at different points of the year where it's just not part of that same, brutal stretch. But yeah, the beginning of the season is not easy. You're hoping that they're anywhere near 500 at that point. Again, most likely, I understand they're probably going to be well below that, but we're going to do our schedule predictions. I think there's a chance for this team to maybe be 500 or not 500. You can't do that. I keep forgetting. I wrote that. There is no 500 anymore, but I think they could kind of teeter towards
around there.
By maybe one game. I think they could be a sneaky playoff contender. As I've said, if the young players you end up contributing. And then the Bills, 2 out of 3 weeks, this feels like the schedule of a team with a rookie head coach. They did not get any breaks. Even the middle has some real gut punches. So this is a tough schedule. Again, I think that they could pull out more games than people might expect, but it's really brutal.
So I'm not as optimistic as you. And I think it has a little bit to do with last year for me. And the fact that when the schedule came out for me, I predicted they would go like 10-7 and fight for the playoffs and be there and have a little bit of success. And they just completely crumbled last year with, again, the schedule was what it was last year, but this looks even harder to me. Now, again, you can't really use last year to determine it. I just think I'm scarred a little bit by it, right? But I look at some of the, first of all, they start with Joe Burrow. They go and they play against, again, I guess Geno Smith is not, top tier, but then you got Aaron Rodgers, the Niners, and then Tua, and then CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence. Like, you're playing against elite quarterbacks and teams that have, hovered around the postseason for the last couple of years to start the season. And then I'm thinking really of like places where you can fit Drake Maye in and you can turn the team over to Drake Maye because this isn't a 2024 Patriots team. Mm-hmm. This is a Patriots that are kind of playing for 2025. So you want to see what you have in the kid. You want to see what's going on with Drake Maye. Now, could they, like you said, win a couple of games, contend to the playoffs? Sure, why not? But I don't think that's really, if you gave them truth serum, they wouldn't tell, they would tell you that their goal isn't to the playoffs. Their goal is to just, contend, build, and, have some fun and see what they have going on with their quarterback. So looking at those thoughts.
They've acknowledged that this is kind of a weird year for them where they're not. They've said it as much as you can say we're not making the playoffs. So yeah, you're right.
So and the reason I say that is because we're more so looking at let's find a spot where Drake Maye can easily fit in, and I don't really see it off the bat. Like, if you think the mini bye after Thursday Night Football, that's week 3. You look at the late bye. First of all, that only gives you 4 NFL starts, to get your feet wet, quote unquote, and then you got to go into next season. And 2 of them against the Bills, who are one of the best teams, or have, historically the last couple seasons been one of the best teams in football. You got to play them twice. Chargers, Cardinals, okay. But that doesn't really do it for you. Now, you can, it doesn't have to be a bye week when you put the rookie in, right? You can give him the end of a game where, maybe Jacoby struggles, you bench him, and then you put Drake Maye in the end of the game, and then you give him the week, and then you run, right? But they kind of look for that sweet spot, and it doesn't really look like there are many sweet spots in this schedule. What do you think about the possibility of Drake Maye playing this season, if at all, and where it would make sense? Because I also think that the NFL would like Drake Maye versus Caleb Williams in week 10. I just don't see I don't know if that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why it's the game that's kind of right past the midpoint of the season where, there's 2 kind of factors there where it's like, okay, if they are on a time frame and it's halfway through, then we got it there. If it's kind of more 3/4 of the way through, then we've got another backup plan where it makes sense for Drake Maye to kind of enter the lineup, and then we get some good football. Like, I don't think it's coincidence that the Chargers and the Bills games with players that he's been compared to. And according to Bill Belichick, he compared himself to Josh Allen. That wasn't totally true. But honestly, I'm kind of working my way through this now. I've been thinking about it, but that doesn't seem like a coincidence that the Chargers and the Bills, twice the Bills, are playing in a time frame where you could possibly have Drake Maye. I keep almost in my head saying Justin Herbert just because like their statures so similar. But yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And then even with like Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, like those are quarterbacks that have really big arms, that like big playability where those could turn into potentially shootouts. I don't think the Patriots are going to get into a lot of shootouts because I think their defense is good enough that they should hold their own against everyone, but maybe like the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Niners, where they just have such a proven track record of success. You can't really predict that you're going to really hold those guys under the water.
Right.
But my opinion on Drake Maye starting, I don't think it's a time frame thing. I do think you'd like him to come in at some point in the season so that you can advertise to free agents, hey, this is what our young core looks like. Because I do think the skill position players, maybe even 1 or 2 of the offensive linemen that have been drafted, will work their way into the rotation, if not end up being starters. But I think with Drake, it just comes down to when he's ready. I don't think they're going to be like, all right, Drake, it has to be by midseason. It has to be by then. Because the whole point is you don't want to put a lot on his plate. They keep saying Jacoby Brissett is a starting quarterback in this league. Frankly, I think if Jacoby ends up keeping the job, it could be because he's playing so well instead of going the Browns route where he gets you within like an earshot of the playoffs, and then you put in a guy who's way worse, and then your offense and your team take a step back. I think with this defense, with the solid veterans they have, if you do get contributions from the young guys, Jacoby Brissett can make this work. He'll make some mistakes. There's going to be some, like you definitely saw when he was starting with the Browns. There were some bad turnovers, like when he was trying to win them games. That's going to happen. But I think the defense is good enough, and Jacoby Brissett is experienced and talented enough that this can be a competitive team. But, getting back to Drake specifically, I just think if there's a day in practice or a string of practices where they're looking and they're like, we can't have this guy on, taking the second reps or on the practice squad, like he's playing lights out, and you're seeing a difference between him and Jacoby, where you're like, hey, Jacoby's more experienced, but this kid opens up the playbook for us. We should probably get him in there because I don't think there's much more for him to benefit on the sidelines. So, yeah, I don't think it's, by this date. I think it's just going to be on Drake Maye's timetable. And again, I think that if Jacoby does end up playing most of the season, I could see this team once again being like around that 500-ish mark that doesn't exist at the end of the season.
Yeah, right. So looking at it too, don't they usually, like I keep seeing on Twitter, the Patriots got screwed. More than I'm thinking about it, they kind of got screwed. Like they kind of got, like you said, rookie coach, like short end of the stick schedule here. Like again, playing the Bills twice down the stretch where that's where you're trying to get some momentum into next season, and you potentially lose 2 out of your last 3. And then I'm looking too, don't teams usually get a bye after their London trip? And the Patriots
I thought it was like supposed to be a 3-week consideration period where you got a bye week. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're going to San Francisco. Then less than a month later, you're going to London.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of ridiculous if I'm being totally honest.
I know. You go to London. And then you come back for a week, and then you go to Tennessee and then Chicago. Like, granted, those aren't huge road trips, but they're still road games. Like,
and there's also a lot of back and forth. There's not a lot of consecutive. So there's 2 strings of consecutive home games.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's crazy.
They gave them no favors.
The Pats got screwed.
Arms and using his tenure to get what he wants. Like, screw that. You're getting what we give you, and you're not going to complain. Yeah, man. I don't see a lot to be happy about with this schedule, to be very honest. Like,
yeah, me either.
And especially in the beginning of the year, they usually get the cupcakes because it's like, all right, Patriots are going to be figuring things out early on in the season. We don't want to put them too far behind because they're a popular team. We want them in the playoffs or in prime time. Speaking of which, one primetime game. And that's
right. And it's Thursday night. It's not even like, do you consider that prime time? Like, yeah.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, not London. I don't know why I consider it Thursday night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, London's
prime 30. To be fair, there's no way anyone considers that prime time.
It's standalone. We'll call it a standalone game. That makes more sense. Yeah. So 2 standalone games. One of them is Thursday night that every team has to do, and the other one is a London game that half the league doesn't really care about, and they kind of throw some BS games out there anyway. So, it's a tough one. It really is. That first stretch is tough, man. Like, man, I'm serious. I look at the first 9 games, and I don't see a definite win.
No definite for sure.
All right.
So the Titans because of Will Levis, but that's
I know. All right. So before we hear from our friends at PrizePicks and before we get into our schedule prediction, what is one win? What is one definite win on the schedule for you, and what is one definite loss for the Patriots on the schedule for you?
Definite loss. I got to say at the Bengals. That's just brutal.
Yeah, okay.
Like the first week of the season, you're playing one of the most talented teams in football all around. Like that and the 49ers, I kind of lumped together is like you're on the road against 2 of the best teams in the NFL. That's brutal. Yeah. Definite win. I'm going to say oh my gosh, this is really tough, man.
It's really tough.
There's none. I would say if I had to have one, it's got to be the Titans. Just because like Will Levis doesn't scare you that much. They have good veteran receivers, but also like you're hoping if your young guys maybe come to play, they can be competitive. Like, oh my God. When you ask, it really puts into perspective. I don't really think they have one. So.
I think my definite win or my definite loss is at San Francisco week 4. They're going to get spanked out in San Francisco week 4. I'm sorry. There's just no way they win that game. It's back-to-back road games. Granted, it's the mini bye, but I don't know. I don't see that one going their way at all. Definite win. Man, you might call me crazy, but I think they're going to beat Seattle week 2 at home.
Okay. I think that's a little crazy for sure.
It's definitely crazy, but looking at everything else,
and to be fair, the Browns, I will give you this. The Browns last year against the Seahawks, the script they had in that game was crazy. Like they came very close to beating the Seahawks in Seattle. Like, remember that double pump fake then in the middle of the field that San Francisco had? They used that against the Seahawks and scored a touchdown. Like some of the stuff that Van Pelt or Stefanski, whoever was putting things together, whoever was pulling that together was like really in their bag. So I will give you that. There is the potential that familiarity will work in the Browns' favor. But again, it's also a new coaching staff. McDonald is there, so who knows?
All right, I'm actually going to switch it to the Colts at home December 1st, right before the bye week. The Patriots win that game. The Patriots always beat the Colts.
With the healthy Anthony Richardson, though. And A.D. Mitchell and, like, Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs. Like,
so what's more winnable, Seattle or Indy? Because those are my 2 winnable winning games.
Anthony Richardson will be healthy or that, he's going to be playing to the level that you expect of him.
Right.
But it's really just because I'm uncertain. Like, also, Indy's defense isn't as good.
I know. That's kind of why I went there.
That's probably more likely. Because I like the Seahawks defense. Like, those corners and that defensive line is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. So, all right.
Jeez,
I know. That's our 1 win, 1 loss. We're going to get into the full prediction, the whole thing. We're going to go through each game. Me and Taylor are going to have our predictions. But first, let's listen to our friends over at PrizePicks.
Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball and hockey entries today on PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I personally love PrizePicks because they're super easy to use, easy to navigate, and they offer injury insurance, so your entries stay live even if one of your players gets injured. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right, now we move on to the not so fun part.
And that is the schedule prediction. We're going to go through each game. It's way too early. We're not putting matchups. We're not thinking that crazy. We're not going in depth, of course. It's way too early right off the bat. Win-loss schedule prediction for myself and Taylor. The other thing I noticed, actually, just saw this from Tamara Brown of Patriots.com. No Thanksgiving or no Christmas games for the Patriots either. Thank God. We get holidays this year, baby.
Also, you have to come to Tennessee because the Titans game is on my birthday.
Okay, fine. We'll make that a road trip. We'll make that happen.
Tennessee, that's gonna be pretty. So I tell Liz, she's gonna be pumped.
Yeah. All right. There we go. All right. So let's do it. Let's go game by game here. Taylor, you're running the Google Doc. I just threw it up. Whoops. Sorry. Every time we do the same thing.
Peas in a pod, man.
Peas in a pod on Pat's Daily, presented by Game Time and PrizePicks, baby. All right. Let's do predictions. Patriots start the season at the Bengals. I'll go first. We'll just go snake order. I'll go, you go, then you go, I go, and we'll just go down around the thing. Patriots at Bengals. They're going to lose this game. Give them an L. It's that simple. Joe Burrow's coming off. They'll go 0-1. And yeah, I think there's not much to explain. I think they start the season 0-1.
Yeah, as long as Burrow's healthy, there really shouldn't be much question about this. As long as T. Higgins is still on the team, you got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, one of the best duos in the NFL. Jermaine Burton, I think, is going to be someone who probably emerges as a starter for them. Obviously, a lot of off-field stuff, but he's extremely talented. And as the number 3 receiver, it's kind of giving me Seahawks vibes, where it's just like you have 2 amazing veterans and then a rookie who can come in and kind of just pick up all the scraps and eat as someone who's still adjusting. I also like the tight end room got better. They got Mike Gesicki, obviously. Yep. They also got Eric Alt, who is somebody I really liked. He's a high-risk, high-reward prospect.
And every tight end from the University of Iowa is nasty in the league. That was a great pick by them.
Honestly, that's the best way to put it. And then right tackle, obviously been a turnstile for them, kind of. They lost Jonah Williams. They got Trent Brown, who, say what you want about him, he's one of the most talented left tackles or offensive tackles in the NFL. And they also got Amarius Mims to learn behind him. They really did a good job shoring up that offensive line. Zach Moss replacing Joe Mixon. That's a downgrade, but not a significant one. And then the defense, it's got a lot of continuity. The biggest thing. They added Geno Stone, who was a ball hawk last season. Mike Hilton's still really good. They brought back Von Bell, who's solid. Sheldon Rankins is really disruptive. And then they also drafted Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson in the middle, and then Josh Newton added to the secondary. So, yeah, just going to try to give you an idea of what the rosters are looking like. I'm not going to go crazy in depth, but yeah, bottom line, that's an L. I don't really think explain why. They're a very good team. They're well coached. They've been there before.
Yep. No, I'm with you. All right, you go with Seahawks now. What do you think?
Yeah, another team where there's continuity on offense. I think that's going to be huge, especially on the offensive line. They added a couple new guards, Laken Tomlinson. They also, who did they draft? Christian Haynes, one of the best guards in the class. They have really good young tackles. I love Geno Smith. I think they got a well-rounded offense because Kenneth Murray and Zach Charbonnet are a good backfield combo. And then the defense, they got a really athletic defensive line that's super disruptive. Their linebackers, they're replacing Jordan Brooks, who's now actually on the Dolphins. I don't like that. As a Patriots follower, he's a really talented player. They're replacing those with a couple largely unknown guys. Actually, Jerome Baker, the Dolphins and Seahawks wound up swapping. And then the secondary in Seattle is nasty. You got Tariq Woolen. You got Michael Jackson, who had a cup of tea with the Patriots. And who's the third corner? I'm forgetting.
Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, nasty. I have high hopes for this Patriots team. I think they can upset but this is just too early, and I think they're like not really going to get a chance to catch their breath. So yeah, I'm down to 0-2.
I'm going to give them a win in week 2, Taylor. I think, like I said, they're going to start 1-1. They come home, Gerard Mayo's first game under the lights. Not really, because I think it's a 1 p.m. kick. But at Gillette Stadium, I like it. Look, Geno Smith's been good, but he's also been a bit of a roller coaster. Like some weeks he's great, some weeks he's below average. And I think that this defense the Patriots have is still really good. I know you know that. I know you think that. And they show out against Geno Smith and the Seahawks week 1. They're still going to have a rookie head coach. Like you said, Mike McDonald is their guy. And so, yeah, I just think that they can sneak one by. Now, the rest of their early schedule is going to be daunting, and I feel like I have to give them a win somewhere because I don't actually think they're going to start the season like 0-10. So I'm going to give them a Seahawks win to start this thing off at home, and then before we get some losses down the stretch, which is why moving on to week 3 at the Jets, Thursday Night Football, the Patriots lose. Short week. I don't see Aaron Rodgers. I don't see Aaron Rodgers, frankly, tearing his Achilles again, knock on wood. So I think he's going to be around and be on this team. And that Jets team is really good. They showed last year that they're really good outside of the quarterback position. They now get one of the best ones in football back. Garrett Wilson's going to have a nasty year. I can't wait to watch Garrett Wilson and Christian Gonzalez line up in week 3 like we saw last year. So they get to do it again with a healthy Rodgers. But Thursday Night Football, their first standalone game of the season. I am going to take the Jets to beat the Patriots, and they start out 1-2.
Also, you mentioned Garrett Wilson and Christian Gonzalez. Like, we're eating good when it comes to Gonzo matchups if he ends up following the top receivers.
Yeah.
You start with Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, probably Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or OBJ, whoever they decide he's the best matchup against. Then probably Diggs or Nico Collins, Calvin Ridley or Brian Thomas. Like, that's
Calvin's not there anymore. FYI.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I'm thinking of the Titans.
They have Gabe Davis now.
So Brian Thomas, he's probably gonna it's gonna be fun. I'm giving them the L here. I think this is gonna be early when like the Jets probably I feel like come out swinging. If they have some growing pains with some of the new additions, then maybe the Patriots have more of a chance. I feel like the Jets are going to be riding high at this point in the season when they got all their older players are still healthy, and things are kind of moving in their favor. So going to drop them down to an 0-3 start, which I don't think a lot of people who know me would expect.
Optimistic Taylor Kyles has the Patriots starting 0-3. Does he have them starting 0-4?
I do have them starting over.
Whoa! Come on.
It's going to be a rough start. We talked about how are they going to handle resiliency now that Gerard's not just basically the DC, but the head coach. We're going to find out. The Jets is really the only game here I think they have a legitimate chance at winning. And even then on a short week, especially on the road, that's going to be tough. And then they're following that up. They get a little mini bye because of Thursday Night Football. But still, you're going all the way to San Francisco to face one of the true juggernauts in the NFL, a perennial Super Bowl contender, not even just a playoff contender. I don't see how you give them a snowball's chance in hell in this game. I really don't even see an avenue for them to be genuinely competitive. I just think this is a class of team that nobody sees very often, and especially as an out-of-conference opponent. Yeah, I'm sorry. This would be a literal miracle. I'll be stunned.
Wow. So Mr. Optimism and Taylor Kyles with me, I'm normally rather optimistic too. I have the Patriot, but for me versus Taylor, I would say I'm the pessimistic one, and I have them with more wins through 3 weeks than Taylor does, through 4 weeks really. But yeah, they're still going to lose this game. It's not happening here. That's why, like I said, I got to give them a win early because I think they're going to go on a tough stretch here. I mean, 1-3 this start. They're just a wagon. The Niners are so good on offense. They're so good on defense. It doesn't matter who their quarterback is. Brock Purdy, I say it like Brock Purdy's average, but he's well above average at this point. He just plays great football. He's a gamer. You saw it all throughout the postseason last year. They just have a very, very, very well-rounded team. The Patriots, like we know, are still young. They're still going to get their feet under them, and they're going to lose this one. They're going to fly out there, and they're going to come home, and they're going to play the Miami Dolphins. And they're going to lose again. They're going to lose to the Dolphins in week 5. They're going to start 1-4. It's not going well for them. I'm sorry. I just look at the Dolphins as a team that plays really, really good football early in the season. They've wilted late the last couple years, but they're still week 5 right now. They still have Tua playing in relatively warm weather in New England, which is a positive. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle, Mike McDaniel. That offense isn't going anywhere, at least not early on in the season. So I think that's going to be a tough matchup for them. And I think offensively, they're still going to be getting their feet under them. And at that point, they've lost 3 out of 4 and might not have the confidence to even get themselves rolling. So even though, I mean, Miami's defense is solid, but I don't see them winning that game either. Taylor, do your Patriots start 0-5?
So I think this is going to be a more mentally tough team than we give them credit for. Like we've seen, the defense can get through some adversity. Offensively, I don't think I think with more talent, you'll see that level of resiliency from them as well. And there's going to be growing pains, of course. But again, I think they've just got a lot of true veterans who will keep them afloat so that it's not just like this is not even a competent offense. I think they'll be solid. I just think they're going to get outclassed early on. With the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel always seems to have something up his sleeve every season. Mm-hmm. With a month of tape, that gives you enough that you can be like, all right, we've seen enough. It's not like last year where it's only one. What was it? They played them in week 2, right?
Yeah, week 2.
Well, yeah, it's like you don't really have a whole lot of film on them, so it's tough to know how exactly, like what strategies work against them. By then, you'll know. I also just don't think the Dolphins have been as competitive with the Patriots as Tua's undefeated record against them makes it seem like they are. Mm-hmm. The offense is always just so bad and makes mistakes at the worst times, especially like in Miami. That was one of the worst games they played against them in a while. Yeah. But usually they're still competitive in the fourth quarter. I don't think the Dolphins are a team that ever is like blowing out the Patriots. So I think with this being a home game, I think this is one where the Patriots finally, even though the Dolphins are super talented, it's still Tua. I like Tua. The reality is he's going to give you a chance at some turnovers. He's going to make some mistakes. I think if the defense keeps this close, then especially I think the run game will be able to thrive with Christian Wilkins gone, with Raekwon Davis gone. I think that maybe they can lean into the ground game and then get some big plays off that. So I think this will be their first win in their second home game. So they are now at 1-4 according to my schedule. I don't fear the Dolphins like that. I really don't, even in the early season.
All right. Back on track. I'm going to let you get this one, but I need to tell you something first. Did you see that ridiculous Harrison Butker graduation day speech?
Dude, okay. I was so physically uncomfortable. Like every sentence, I'm just like, dude, you gotta stop. Like you're talking to me.
The Chargers did their schedule release and they did it in like Sims characters. And when they did their Chiefs one, they did a Sims character of Harrison Butker cooking in the kitchen like a woman.
I thought you meant like he was cooking. I was like, no. Okay,
no. As in, like he's like he was telling women like they are the homeowner or the home builders and they should like be cooking. So like they made fun of him, took a shot at him being the woman of the house, which I think is awesome because that shit was so ridiculous.
That was just so crazy.
Yeah. So very cringy.
When he almost cries talking about his wife, is just like, she makes such a lovely home. It's like,
yeah, come on, dude. So weird. But yeah, I like that they gave them some shit for that in the Chargers thing because that was just a crazy thing. All right. I had to tell you that. 1-4, Taylor, Patriots, then stay home for another game in a row.
Even.
What?
We're even now.
Yeah, we are even now. So yeah, what do you think about the Texans?
This is another one I don't see how they win this game. I really don't. I think that the Texans have some holes on defense, but I don't think they're glaring. I think they're way more talented than they are deficient. I just think it's a super well-rounded team. And with the offense, they still have Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Tank Dell's coming back, Stephon Diggs, obviously. They have Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce. Their offensive line is good. CJ Stroud's obviously a stud. Miko Ryan's a fantastic coach. This is one of those where if they win, I think it's like one of those statement wins that puts them kind of on the map. Is maybe you got to take them more seriously. I think they're going to be a competitive team, but this is not one that I see them pulling out. So
yeah, I'm with you. I second everything you said. The Texans are on the up and up. They came in last year. CJ Stroud proved he was much more than just the just the second overall pick. He was like an MVP candidate by like week 5, like literally was like an MVP candidate according to all the odds. He was awesome. He played that way throughout the entirety of the season. He's a stud. Quarterback's the most important position. They just got so much better. And now they bring in Stephon Diggs. Their wide receiver core is already nasty. Their offensive line is really good. Like their defense is awesome. The Texans are a top tier team in the AFC and they flipped it around so fast. That's what the model the Patriots need to go after is. And hopefully they can do that. But right now, they're not even close to that yet. So I am also saying the Texans beat them in week 6? Yeah, week 6. Then week 7, they go across the pond to London, where they play the Jaguars, who are a home team over there. Basically, they play a couple games over there each year. They've turned that into their second home stadium. And
the NFL turned it into their second home stadium.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, so Patriots go overseas again, and I think they lose overseas again, Taylor. I like the Jaguars. I am higher on the Jaguars than most people. I think I'm higher on Trevor Lawrence than most people. I just think they're him, Doug Peterson, what they have on offense. They bring in Brian Thomas. Obviously, they lose Calvin Ridley, but Gabe Davis is there. Christian Kirk is still there and solid for them. Their defense is pretty good. They re-signed Josh Allen after franchise tagging him. And so, look, yeah, they started hot last year. They went on a run, then they got cold towards the end. I think they missed the playoffs, actually, because the Texans ended up beating them in the AFC South. But Trevor Lawrence, I think, is just going to keep getting better and better. And I usually just not just compare quarterbacks, but I use the quarterback comparison to really help or hurt my argument in these games. And I just think Trevor Lawrence and what they have is better than what the Patriots have at this point in the season. And the more I think about it and look at it, they're playing for 2025, and they're not that they're not going to try, and not that they don't want to win these games, but like, I know the Patriots have this mental toughness you're talking about, but I don't know if I see them very ready to win a game in London against the Jaguars just yet. They're still too young until too buildy, crazy to say. Like, they're too much of a rebuilding team right now where I just don't see them winning games immediately.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. But
and it's not that they're going to be losses that are like devastating, like franchise-changing losses like they were last year, where you go in the locker room and people are like spiking shit against the like. It's not that. It's just, are they really going to beat the Jaguars? Like, are the Patriots that are coming off a 4-13 team with a new head coach and a rookie quarterback, or a veteran quarter? Like, I don't know. Something's not clicking with me with this game in particular, and a lot of these games in particular. So I think they go down in London.
So I think that Josh Allen and Eric Armstead are disruptive up front.
Yeah.
I think the linebackers for the Jaguars are pretty good. I'm just not super moved by their secondary.
Okay.
So that's one thing I think you can probably throw on them if you're like careful. I think you can run on them as well if you block things up well, because they're more disruptors than they are like really space eaters. Yeah. And then the Jaguars offense, one is super spotty. I think that's why people sleep on them, because they haven't been consistently good enough for you to be like, oh, the Jags. Like, I was buying Trevor Lawrence hype. Like, I remember when he came back against the Ravens, I was like, wait a minute. Like, something clicked in him. This was like different. And then they went on the run, and I was pumping Trevor Lawrence's tires. And then last year, it's just they were way too inconsistent. And that's not all on him, but it is partially. Their offensive line didn't get that much better, where I'm saying like, oh, you got to watch out. They can't run block. They couldn't last year. I don't see how their run game got any better. So this is a one-dimensional team against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Brian Thomas Jr., he scares me. But then, okay, put Gonzalez on him. And then you're saying, okay, are you afraid of Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram? Not really. Not with the Patriots secondary. Jonathan Jones on Christian Kirk, I like. Whoever they decide is their good enough cornerback too, obviously that'll depend. But like, still, Gabe Davis doesn't scare me that badly. And whether it's Kyle Duggar or Marte Mapu, I think they can handle Evan Ingram to the point that he's not going to take over the game. So I give them a win. I think that, one, this is going to be, again, a mentally resilient team that is going to be hungry and is going to really try to like find itself and kind of stack some wins together at this midpoint in the season. I just don't maybe respect the Jaguars enough. They haven't shown me enough on a consistent basis.
Yeah. All right. That's the early part of the season. Hitting a mini bye week here, going home against the Jets. Let's go rapid fire here through the bye week, and then we'll analyze a little bit more post bye, and then we'll get out of here, because although scheduled day is a great holiday, we're getting towards sort of the end of this thing. So let's go rapid fire through the bye week. Jets at home. Yeah. Jets at home. Patriots win or loss.
No, this is the Jets Patriots home. Yeah. I think the Patriots win this one. This is where I think that injuries are going to start to set in for the Jets offense. Okay. And that's where I think the Patriots are going to have them more vulnerable. And either way, I think they're going to hold the Jets pretty close. And again, I think this is where the optimist in me is like, if they start to see we can win games, I think they'll start to put them together against teams that are beatable. And like the Jets receiving core, I just don't think is very deep. I feel like it's just going to take one Jenga piece for that unit to become way less intimidating. So yeah, I'm giving them the win here.
All right. What do you say?
Was that rapid fire enough?
Yeah, that was good, but I'm going to give them a loss. I'm going 1-7 to start this thing. It's starting to even off here with Optimus first pessimist. I still think that sorry, Negan. Negan.
Negan, you jerk. Leave. What did I do?
So injuries are only the other.
Injuries are only the other team. No, but the Jets are basically a retirement home at this point. So whatever. All right. Sorry. I'm
taking loss though. I'm giving them an L. I think they lose this one.
Why do you think they lose though? Let me know.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I just think that the Jets are objectively a better team than the Patriots. I think they have a better quarterback. I don't want to say they have a better head coach by any means, nor do they have a better offensive coordinator or anything like that. I just think the matchup itself where, I look at now, granted, Gonzo and Garrett Wilson, I think is pretty much a wash, but I just trust Aaron Rodgers and that team so much more than I trust the Patriots right now. And again, it's not to say that they won't keep it close and be relatively competitive and be, fiery and fun and young, and they're going to give us some hope. But I just still think they're so much more of a rebuilding team than the Jets are right now. Yes, they're at home, but not that I agree with the guy sort of taunting you in the chat, but like I find it hard.
He's using mean words.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say though, it's hard to just bank on injuries to predict a game. So, both teams healthy, I just think the Jets are better. So I give them a win. But
that's fair. And I can see it going both ways. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they can fight in these games. I really do. I don't think they're just going to be blowouts. I think these games are going to be close. And finally, I think they get their next win at the Titans here in this one. I think in Nashville, the Patriots pull one out. It's rookie head coach versus rookie head coach. I think I have more confidence in Gerard Mayo than Callahan. I have more confidence in what the Patriots are doing at quarterback than what the Titans are doing with Will Levis. So I'm going to give them a win here.
Yeah, especially if Jacoby Brissett's playing this game, I would just give him the edge over Will Levis. Like, he's obviously super talented. The Patriots are so good at not allowing passes over their head. And I feel like Will Levis is going to try to force it, and they're going to be able to capitalize on that. Yeah. Now, Jacoby is still prone to making some mistakes, but he also makes big plays. And I think if he just needs to play within himself and keep them on point, I think they can do that. Because I think there's some bright spots on the Titans defense for sure, and they're always really tough. And I love their offensive line, and obviously having both the Callahans is crazy. But yeah, if the Patriots are going to have some kind of win streak, I do want to at least try to find some wins here. I do think this is another one where it would make sense. Given, again, Will Levis just isn't the kind of guy that really, really scares you. Yeah. And I feel like, they have a lot of veteran receivers like Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd. Like, those are legit dudes. But I think the Patriots are also athletic enough in their defense that they'll be able to contain those guys. And,
yeah. All right. This is funny in the chat. Stanley says so much for moving it along. So I'm going to let you go. Give me your win-loss.
I'm not good at that. I'm not good at brevity.
All right. Then what I'll do is I'll give you my win-losses right now through the bye week. I think at Bears is a win. I think they beat Caleb Williams and the Bears. Quick reasoning. I just think that even though the Bears offense, I think, is better right now with what they've done, I don't know. I trust the Patriots in that one for some odd reason. Versus the Rams is a loss. Patriots fall to 3-8. At Dolphins is a loss, 3-9. And versus the Colts is a win. Patriots are 4-9 at the bye week.
All right. So Bears, I agree. I think it's going to be a win, especially with Jacoby again, just that veteran presence. Patriots always struggle against mobile quarterbacks, but I do think they're getting more athletic, and I feel like that kind of identity is going to the wayside a bit. And Caleb Williams, super talented, but I think they can get him to make some mistakes. So yeah, I'm going to put that at 5-5. So now they're even.
Now they're cooking at 4 wins in a row for you.
I think that's realistic, where they start kind of finding their groove and they really start getting a little winning streak going. I think also that's like that soft middle part of the season where it's like you could probably win some games there. Rams, no. I'm not even there. That team is so good. They are again, like they have a few juggernauts on this schedule, and I feel like the Rams are definitely in that category. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, obviously Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum now, Tyler Higbee if he's healthy, a bruising offensive line. Like that's just the offense and the defense. That defensive line Byron Young and Kobe Turner. I always want to say Kobe Bryant. Kobe Turner had excellent rookie seasons. Then they added Brandon Fisk, however you say his name, I'm sorry, and Jared Verse. And then I also like some of the pieces they got in their secondary as well. So yeah, I don't think they're going to win that. At Dolphins, lost. They don't win in Miami. I don't need to explain that one any further. It is what it is until they prove otherwise. That's just a house of horrors. Versus Colts, I think they get back on track. It's going to be tough, though. I really think the Colts are going to give them a run for their money. It's just the defense, I feel like, as long as they don't make mistakes. Like, it feels like every time they play the Colts, their offense just doesn't play well. It's kind of like the Dolphins, where it's just they're always close games. It's just like, please, someone just win the freaking game. Like, do something, especially, the Colts with Gardner Minshew and Sam Ehlinger. But even though Anthony Richardson is a dog, and I think this is going to be a really good offense, this is the optimist in me, I will admit, saying that I think they can pull out a win here.
Oh, I think they do too. I think I like their chances against that Colts team.
Yeah. So
6 and 7 for Taylor, 4-9 for me. At the bye week, who's your quarterback right now for the Patriots, hypothetically, in this scenario? Is Drake Maye starting right now, or are we still riding Jacoby Brissett?
Maybe this is a cop-out. If Jacoby is not the reason they're losing, I think they roll with him. Yeah. If it's like Jacoby's played well, but maybe there were some moments where we could have won games where Jacoby made mistakes, that's where you start considering Drake Maye. But again, I think it's just going to come down to whether or not he's ready. If at the bye week they're having these questions and it's like, we don't need to throw Drake in there at this point in the season. Let's just see what we can do. We don't need to make the playoffs this year. You stick with Jacoby. But if it's like Drake could probably get us over that threshold and really give us a strong finish, I think it's him. What about you?
In this scenario where they win 2 in a row versus at Bears, at Titans, at Bears, then they lose to the Rams and the Dolphins. They beat the Colts, but it's a tight game and Jacoby plays iffy football. They find the bye week to be the time where they turn it over to Drake Maye. So I am saying Drake Maye turns it over here and they give him the last 4 games. Even Drake Maye time takes over, whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah, there we go. So it's Drake Maye season to start the rest of it here for me. I think they're going to – look, I don't think they're going to necessarily use – I don't think they're necessarily going to look for these perfect splits in the schedule like I mentioned where it has to be this bye week or it has to be after London or it has to be after the mini bye. Like, they'll feel it out and they'll see, and I don't think they're going to turn it over until they know Drake Maye is ready. But in this scenario, I think that this could be a decent time for it. You give him the last 4 games, get used to NFL football, get used to cold NFL football, playing 2 home games to end the season in New England. So this is when they turn it over. But first, they go to Arizona for a 4:15 matchup.
I agree. It's going to be May time. I'm just going to put it there.
And I think who's their head coach now?
Jonathan Gannon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay.
Lonnie Ossenfort's been decent work.
I think they pull this one out. I think they beat Arizona. I don't know why. I like their chances. I know Kyler Murray is still a great quarterback. I don't get the Kyler Murray hate. I really don't. I think he's really good.
You can't see over his offensive line.
It's stupid, man. Like, he's a really freaking good player. He has a really good arm. He knows how to read defenses. He's not just a video game quarterback. He understands the game, and he's also able to turn on the video game quarterback type with his legs. So I love Kyler. I think he's a great quarterback. But I think if they do start Drake Maye, sometimes there's just a quick spark with those young guys. Teams haven't seen him, things like that. I think they can outscore, not necessarily outscore the Cardinals in the way, I want to say it like that, but they can play well against that defense and maybe hold Kyler's offense. So I'm going to take a W there.
Yeah, I think Kyler's a good player, and it's just like his athleticism makes up for the fact that he doesn't always play in structure because he's just so hard to get down. Also, okay, so you put Gonzo on Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a little clash of the Titans. They go back and forth. No one else on the Cardinals offense really scares me. I like their running backs, but their receiving core just doesn't really move me very much. In their defense, I feel like Jonathan Gannon got them playing solid. I mean, the numbers don't reflect it. Right. But I feel like
they played better once they turned it over to Kyler last year. They played better football.
Yeah. So, but still, I just don't think there's enough star power. Now, like, saying that is, on the Patriots end is kind of funny. Right. But at the same time, like, usually with these Patriots teams, even if it isn't with Belichick. You still have Rod Mayo and the staff who knows how to put these game plans together, and they've witnessed all these things. This just feels like the kind of game where it'll be competitive, but I feel like the Patriots are able to get the dub here as well. So I have them going on a 2-game win streak.
Again.
Evened up at 7-7.
All right. Bills, Chargers, Bills. I'll have you give me all three at once because
one of these is supposed to be at. Where did I make this? I think the first one.
The first one's at Bills.
Yeah.
Taylor Kyle's Bills.
I wish. Stop. All right, I got it.
There you go. At Bills. Give me all three right now because it's the back-to-back, basically back-to-back Bills with the Chargers in the middle. What do you make of it? What do you think of the ending stretch of this season here?
So at Bills, I'm going to give them a loss. I think like playing them for the first time, that's just going to be tough, especially with a road environment. Mm-hmm. They are going to take an L there. I think they beat the Chargers. I think that Jim Harbaugh is going to bring more seriousness to that team and make them much more competitive, but their defense still isn't great. I don't think. Justin Herbert, to be fair, when he plays the Patriots, his numbers aren't very good, but I think it's more the people around him than like Justin Herbert plays poorly. Like I've never watched a game and been like, what is Herbert doing? Like he usually plays them pretty well. Right. So I just think this defense is going to do pretty well, even though, Lad McConkey and Joe Alt are difference makers for that offense. But I still, especially if it's a home game, I'm going to give it to the Patriots. I think they're also going to have a bad taste in their mouth after what happened last year where they couldn't score literally a touchdown to win the game.
Yep.
And this one, 8-8, I'm going to give them, again, it's an optimistic slant. I'm going to give them the push they need to split
a dub
at home, end on a high note. If Drake May's playing too, this is going to be a really fun one.
Yeah.
I don't feel great about it. Like this, what was it? This pick and the Jets, I think it was. I don't feel
the Jets and the Colts you didn't love.
Right. Yeah, I don't feel great about those, and I 100% acknowledge that. But I'm looking for wins. I'm trying to see like where they could be. And they also played the Bills very close last season.
Yeah, they did.
Josh Allen had multiple turnovers in both games. They turned the ball over 4 times in the finale and only lost by a possession. So I think they're starting to shorten the gap, especially with all the turnovers and the loss of leadership that they had in Buffalo. So 9-8 season. I'm going to get torn to shreds.
I was just going to say, you're going to get torn to shreds for 9-8. I'm going to give them 3 straight losses here, and I'm probably going to get torn to shreds for 5-12. So I'll quickly reason it as you fill in the rest of the doc. I think at Bills is pretty easy. They win 2 in a row, so I'm not as pessimistic as you think. They win the last 2, but then they go at Bills, and it's obviously at the Bills. The Bills are the best team in the AFC East, probably, maybe, Miami and New York or whatever, they fight a little bit. But overall, like, that's the best team, and they've been the best team, essentially one of the best teams in the conference. And yeah, they lost Steph Diggs and they lost a couple other guys there, but I still think they're really solid. I think they lose to them. I think the Chargers, I've always been higher on the Chargers than you have. We went through this basically every week when we did our gambling shows throughout the season, and I love the Chargers and you hate them. And lo and behold, they suck and they fired their coach. So you win that one, Taylor. But I like Jim Harbaugh.
To be fair.
I like Jim Harbaugh. I love Justin Herbert. And I think that one day Drake Maye, we're going to be talking about him like we do Justin Herbert, hopefully with more wins and more playoff appearances. But the skill set and the style of play, very similar to me. I think Harbaugh is going to get that team rolling. I think they're going to be fighting for the playoffs. I think the Patriots aren't, so they win that one. And then, unfortunately, I think they lose Week 18 to the Bills as well. So, unfortunately, they go into 2025 continuing to rebuild at 5-12 and losing their last 3. So,
but they might have a top 10 pick.
What?
They might have a top 10 pick.
Yeah, exactly. That's the optimist side. So, I have 5-12. Taylor has 9-8. So that is our predictions. We will tweet out that Google Doc graphic as soon as we get off of here. And I think, Taylor, that's going to do it for us tonight. Do you have any other immediate thoughts you have to get to on the schedule before we wrap this thing up? Or
none at all. The schedule is one of the most overhyped things on the NFL calendar.
It's so overhyped. What are we doing right now?
I mean, I think it is fun to go through and like spitball ideas, to be fair. But the whole like dragging it out thing. Like, I know we had an hour-long show, but that's just because I don't know how to shut up. Like, like, don't overthink it. There's so much that's going to happen between now and when these games get played. It's just for good fun. That's all this is.
That's exactly what it is. It's super fun. I do think it's super overrated. Like, when we know the opponents, It's just like when they're going to play. It's basically like people planning their bachelor and bachelorette parties down to Nashville right now. Like, when is my team playing the Titans so I can spend more money on, first level seats at Nashville Zoo Stadium? But it is fun.
The order does matter. Like, when you're playing the Bills 2 out of 3 weeks, and like the beginning of the schedule, it's times where you're like, yeah, I just don't see how they're even going to be alive after that first month of the season, or like maybe they get a push. So there is like, you can have the discussions and add some nuance to the conversation, but yeah, like it's
no, you're right, because you look at West Coast, East Coast, when they're traveling, if they're going to stay. You have the Jets and the Niners back to back. You go to London, you don't have a bye. So there are definitely quirks and kinks, I guess, in the schedule that you can make more than you should about. And that's what we did here tonight. So anyone who tuned in, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching, you should also go to Game Time. Go download the Game Time app. They are the premier sponsor of our emergency schedule release show here on Patriots CLNS. So go download Game Time. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Maybe go to the Red Sox tomorrow. Maybe go to the Bruins on Friday. The Celtics just won. They're moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe go check out a Celtics game with the Game Time app. Super easy to use. And again, use code CLNS for 20% off your first purchase. We'll be back here on Pat's Daily. I'll be here. Taylor will be here on Twitter at TKyles39. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Kadlick. All of our coverage on CLNSmedia.com and here on Patriots Press Pass. Until then, thank you for joining me. Taylor, how do you sign this thing off? Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.
Nailed it.
Woo! Let's go. All right, let's go. See you.